because we intuitively recognize it is the most dangerous teaching in the Bible, because it completely destabilizes our conventional economic practices. So I will cite only two texts, and I have two responses to that question that I get asked all the time. First of all, that this book has been filled with things that have not been tried yet. Why are you asking about this one? Or, we don't know whether they did it. It is amazing that they could imagine it. So there are two derivative texts that people cite all the time. The first one is in Isaiah 61. And incidentally, your rector's photo is in the diocesan paper that I just got today. I think you had done this text, right? Isaiah 61? Is that, did I read that right? No.
It was the Luke text.
The Luke text, okay.
Yeah.
So this text says the Spirit of the Lord is upon me, because He has anointed me to preach freedom to prisoners and to proclaim, the usual translation, the acceptable year of the Lord's favor. And almost every interpreter says that the year of the Lord's favor in that text is the Jubilee year. Which means, and this text is probably dated in the Persian period, so this means that in the Persian period, there was a memory of this kind of teaching. And apparently the character who speaks in Isaiah 61 understands himself to have been designated by God's Spirit to do that much reordering of the economy. The other text that Nancy just mentioned in Luke 4, and I think it's only in Luke, verses 4, 18, and 19. This is the story when Jesus returns to Nazareth, to the synagogue, and the Luke narrative says he pulled the scroll of Isaiah out, and he read this text. So verses 18 and 19 quote Isaiah 61 that seems to allude to Leviticus 25. The Spirit of the Lord is upon me because He has anointed me to proclaim the acceptable year of the Lord's favor. And all of his hometown people were dazzled by this brilliant teaching. They thought, wow, this guy is good at exegesis. And then he said, today I'm going to act out the Jubilee. And then they ran him out of town. It's okay to have the idea, but don't implement it. So this text then becomes a reference point for the radicality, and you know that Luke Acts are commonly thought to be all by Luke. So this is the most socially radical gospel. This is the gospel that begins with Mary's Magnificat, that says He will fill the hungry with good things and send the rich empty away, which means a renovation or the redistribution of social goods. And then in the book of Acts, there is a statement that says the apostolic preaching is turning the world upside down. So the vision of the gospel according to Luke Acts is very radical. And there is a book written by an exegete named Sharon Riney, who reads the whole Luke Acts gospel as Jesus' performance of the Jubilee year, which of course then is the reason that the Roman and Jewish authorities conspired to eliminate him as an enemy of the state, because he turned out to be an enemy of the imperial economy. So I think that while we have to think very seriously about the actual practice of the seventh day, I suspect it is equally important for us to ponder on that seventh day, what is the Sabbatic principle like that has huge implications for the reordering of the economy. And I think it's so fine that we are talking about that, because that really is the great question that is in front of us in our society. How shall we order the economy in ways that do not continue this radical distinction between the haves and the have-nots? That's the biblical provision for that, and it touches all kinds of social implications. Well, let me stop there to see whether you have yes.
Okay, so this is so timely because of the state budget, and we've got a governor who really sees himself as a Christian and who speaks kind of in this sabbatical, or what is the term is for the Jubilee year. He talks about our responsibility to remember everybody, and so he's talking about the disparity in school funding among districts, and he's talking about the importance of making sure that people who can't afford health insurance can now avail themselves of the expansion of Medicaid. He's redistributing things in a way that works against what he's trying to do by saying, well, we're going to shift from income tax to property taxes, or to sales taxes, our main way of funding.
Yeah.
So, but he's trying, and I feel that there's a common ground there where we can talk about these kind of principles and apply them to public policy. And right now is the time that we should be thinking about that, because it's in hearings in the state legislature.
Yeah.
So if we wanted to do applied Jesus stuff this week, this is a great time to start.
That's right. And what's clear, when you study these texts and then you read about contemporary problems, there is no direct line, but it requires huge imaginative, interpretive work that is inherently disputatious. You know, the people, about the things that people like to imagine that there is a direct line from here to here, and what's the problem with that? I think there are no direct lines about anything, but there is interpretive work to be done to say, what would happen if we let this text, or texts like these, feed our imagination?
And Morris McCracken says, all we're arguing about, let justice rain down like mighty waters, now we have to work out the irrigation system.
That's right, yes. Exactly. Yep. Other thoughts? Yes?
Well, is keeping the Sabbath a corporate thing or an individual thing? I mean,
Well, it may be a both and. My sense about it is that you need some brothers and sisters to do it with you. I think it's exceedingly difficult to do that as an isolated individual. So I don't know that it's corporate in the sense that I think it cannot be imposed on society, but I do think it's communal. And so I think that if we were to take these texts seriously, then part of our work is to think, how do we organize communal activity in a way that sustains each other in trying to practice this kind of intentionality with some lasting discipline, I think. Come back to that if you want.
well, I was just trying to say, is the economy the responsibility of the individual for our Sabbath? In other words, are we responsible to make the economy right, or is the individual? That's all.
Well, I think that the individual summons of the text has all kinds of spillover into public questions. You know, that's a disputed matter. So any preacher who tries to make those connections will be told immediately after church, why don't you stick to religion and not in in economics and politics since you don't know anything about them anyway. But clearly, politics and economics are too important to be left to politicians and economists. Because political and economic questions are inherently theological. That shows. So I think that's a piece of the work. And of course, the National Episcopal Church, the House of Bishops and all that stuff, they continue to work at that. It gets much more difficult when you try to talk about local venues, I think. Yes?
What stimulated me here, I had noticed in Spielberg's latest movie, the way he used Lincoln kind of telling stories, and everybody else said, oh gosh, here he goes again. And I'm feeling that this doing and the being and all this Sabbath principles got well within those stories, and that he was kind of calling us back to the position to discuss and act on the Sabbath principles. That's right. And that Spielberg used that technique of those stories.
That's right.
To do it.
Yeah. And I think it is the case that specific narratives are the one that supply the energy for the prescriptions and the commandments and all that. If you don't have the narrative working behind it, it just sits there.
The memory.
That's right. So always remember that you were slaves. Remember that the Lord your God brought you out of Egypt. All that kind of stuff.
And I guess what we saw we had last Sunday, don't fear, or in your fear, remember that the Lord has acted and He has delivered.
That's right.
Over and over again, that thing. And it's always based on memory of how God has acted and His promise to act.
That's right.
And it's in the abundance of power and love and mercy there.
And hopefully those memories keep us anchored in trust, and when the narrative goes, we're devoured by anxiety.
Yeah. It's not going to get rid of the anxiety, the anxiousness, but keep us from being devoured by the
That's right.
anxiety.
That's exactly right. Yep. Other comments? Well, I'll just finish by mentioning again these texts from Mark, just so you know I know. Mark 2 is the question of work on the Sabbath, because the disciples are threshing grain as they walk through the field, and so it becomes a question then about whether you can work on the Sabbath. And what Jesus says is that the Son of Man, presumably meaning himself, the Son of Man is the Lord of the Sabbath. I really get to decide that, not some rule about the Sabbath. And then in the next chapter, the question comes about whether you can heal on the Sabbath, and that's when he says that man was not made for the Sabbath, but Sabbath was created for human well-being. So Sabbath becomes the great festival of Shalom, in which we are invited to participate. And that means in the ways that we can, that means to divest from all those practices and policies and assumptions that work against the common good. And I think it would be very healthy in the church if conservatives and liberals in the church were honest with each other to say that all of us are adjudicating between the possibilities of the common good and the way we are committed against the common good. I think it is the central human task, as it has always been in biblical faith. Well, let's stop unless you have other comments.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Walter will be around for a few more moments, and remember that Dr. Jana Reese will be speaking next Wednesday. Walter will be back 2 weeks from now. Again, thank you for being here tonight.